Welcome to the beautiful city of Athens, the gateway to the Tennessee Valley, a city rooted in deep community relationships and built on a rich tradition of small local business and the very best of the human spirit. As Athens embraces the future, the signs of progress are in full bloom. Join us as we discover the bright spots in this charming southern city that we call home. This is Hometown Heartbeat, Athens. What's going on, everybody? Zach Walker here checking in with my buddy Brandon Hargrove for Hometown Heartbeat. Day, there it is, 12. And I'm trying to figure out why my volume won't come up on my computer here, but I guess you're not getting bed music today. So, Brandon, what's going on, buddy?
Man, just working.
Did you guys hear the difference in the energy there? It was like, hey, Brandon, hello. That's why I love Brandon. Man, at the shadows. So we've been messing with our lighting setup, and as you can tell, the dog ate my light. Brandon is a mortgage. How long have you been in the mortgage business, Brandon? 100 years?
Yeah, right at 10 years. I was a commercial banker for 15, 16 years prior, but been strictly doing mortgages for the last 10 years.
Strictly mortgages for 10 years, huh?
Yep.
Do you love it?
I do. A lot of fun.
What do you love about it?
It's we've had a lot of family time.
There's our bed music. Found it.
Looks good.
Is it ready? And we're back. So you've been in the mortgage for 10 years.
That's right.
And so Brandon is, little background, little history here. Brandon and I go way back. I say way back because it's as long as I've been here. Brandon has, one of the first guys I met when I got here. We got involved in church. They were subjected to hearing me sing and speak for many Sundays in a row, oftentimes doing both at the same time. The invitation with the guitar in hand was always fun.
That's right.
But no, we've developed a family. Really, that we spend our Christmases over with his family and have epic Nerf wars, which is my favorite tradition probably that we've created for our young family for Christmas time. So that's kind of our background. But when I got in the real estate business 2.5 years ago, Brandon walked right alongside me in that, just as an advisor, mentor, friend, because I had never done it before. And he's been in the industry forever and just kind of watched me grow through that and kind of walk through that process. And in that process, you wrote a bazillion loans for our people. And so I will say this about Brandon. There's nobody that there's great mortgage people all over the industry, but as far as the return on your investment on the customer service side, it's hard to beat what Brandon and his team are able to provide. And so Brandon is always my go-to for everything, obviously personally, and then a recommendation amongst a couple for clients. But what I love about Brandon is he's very he loves the business. He loves deal making. He's kind of like I am. I mean, the art of the deal, the whole negotiate. I mean, that's just what we enjoy. That we talk about that. It's a lot of where our friendship kind of came from, kicking into that pretty early in our relationship. So I say all that to say that when situations get crazy, when the world turns, changes, when we're unsure of what's coming in the industry landscape. I mean, obviously with what we do, we've got 6 houses we own right now. We're about to try to sell. It's a good time to figure out if are we going to be able to sell them. And so we've been talking on a relatively daily basis about, hey man, what's going on with the mortgage industry? What's going on with the mortgage industry? And so I figured instead of hogging all that great information for myself, I would invite Brandon to join us today and talk about that, because the reality is COVID-19 has changed everything. And people are wondering, like, how is this impacting? Like, the Toyota's not stopped building. I mean, there's people still coming. There's people still got to move here. They got to buy a house. They got to get a loan. So I've seen a bunch of crazy nonsense on Facebook from people proclaiming to know what they're talking about in the mortgage business, which is terrifying for all of you that are about to get a mortgage. So I just wanted to bring someone on who is knowledgeable, trustworthy, and quite frankly, fun to talk to, because doing this 12 days in a row, you got to spice it up a little bit. So Brandon, go ahead and give us kind of the layout. I mean, what does it look like? Because before it was just on fire.
Yeah, and the market, I mean, it's still on fire. I mean, I'm getting phone calls every single day, ready to buy. It's mixed in with a absolute ton of refinances right now. COVID-19 has probably changed that more than just the purchase side of it. But probably if you're out there ready to buy right now, it's really probably not changed a ton for you. If you're 90% of you, it's really not going to have changed anything. But there are a few things to to kind of think through, and I just wanted to kind of bring those up to
Sure.
you. If you're in the middle of the loan process right now, and you foresee things changing with your job right now, you're getting paid, you're at home working, but you foresee things about to change, you need to call your lender very quick in the process. Don't hide it. Don't put it under the pillow. We will find out.
It's usually my go-to. Bury my head in the sand, wait and see what happens.
Most mortgage companies, most mortgage lenders, we're going to be, doing checkups 2 days before closing, 1 day before closing, some verbal verifications. So we're going to find those things out. We're going to, figure that out. So if you're worried about something, if something is in your gut, go ahead and reach out to your lender. Go ahead and let them know, hey, this is what's going on. This is, they may need a little bit of help, tracking down some of your HR people, sending a couple more emails.
But you can get out ahead of it, is what we're saying, right? You can get ahead
of it. Yeah, there's no reason to hide it because it's going to come out. It's just being proactive with that. For instance, our company, we can, if you're going to be laid off and you're going to have some pay for 2 or 3 weeks, we have some ways that we can move through that. We can get some documentation from your employer. We can kind of underwrite it with a little bit more liquidity, maybe some reserves and things like that, and we can move you on down the road. But right now, we checked our pipeline for the next 60 days, and we really don't have anyone that's going to be affected. So
you brought up a couple things that are really interesting there. One, you and I talked yesterday about some things that we'll dive into in a minute, but specifically cash reserves. You said when in our conversation, it was basically if you've got X amount of cash reserves, then a layoff won't too badly negatively affect you. I want to address that for a moment because Americans right now, prior to COVID-19 and its attack on the country, but in general, I've seen less cash reserves for people as I worked in the real estate business, getting people qualified, walking through this process. What do you think it is that's created? I was raised up to, now I'm not saying I'm good at it because I'm the worst saver in the world, but we were always taught to put X amount away for a rainy day. And it was, my dad always told me 2.5 months, like have 2.5 months of cash put aside just in case. Why do you think that we're seeing, I think culturally, a shift away from putting cash in the bank? Because and maybe it's demographic, age-wise. I don't know if you've got more experience than I do, but I'm just curious if that's something you've seen, because I've seen less people with solid savings accounts than I'd like to.
Yeah, not probably for me with I don't know, man. I'm probably seeing more cash today. So
maybe I just had the wrong type of clients.
No. It's when you start getting into first-time home buyers and then young families, you're going to have less cash. It's just part of that. And if you had some financial training, if you had some financial advice given to you, you were probably told to keep 30 days of reserves and then 60 days of reserves. But honestly, that's probably not enough. So I think the reason why probably some of our first-time homebuyer customers probably don't have enough cash sitting around or enough reserves sitting around is just they started with the wrong amount. It's probably closer.
That's a good word.
It's probably closer to 3 to 6 months. You think about life events and life changes. There's a lot of things that can go on that have nothing to do with your choices. Sure. There's so many things that just happen in life. Life happens. And to have 30 days or 60 days of reserves is probably just not enough. And that's probably what most people were taught.
And they're realizing it right now, maybe for the first time in a while, right?
Because you really think about it, and it's what, April 3rd.
That's right.
And so I don't know how long we've really been in this, but most people have not been out of work long enough to miss a mortgage payment. We're really May is really going to be the tattletale sign of really where we're at as an economy. But when you turn on the news, you start seeing, call your mortgage company. I can't make my mortgage company. Quicken Loans come out with this huge article. wanting bailout money, I think, or something. I sent it to you. It was so. I think that, and once again, we're in an environment where we really hadn't even missed mortgage payments yet. So, but if I can talk about that, just for a second,
and so the second thing I was going to do, Connor, put this on the screen. The stimulus check, how that affects, how does the stimulus package or the CARES Act affect the mortgage? And the two things there are obviously one, yes, what you're talking about, and then I want to know two, stimulus money, gift funds. How is all that going to just curious question. I would set it out loud before I forget. But yes, let's talk about missing mortgage payments.
Yeah. So if you're, once again, it goes back to that same thing. If you're in line trying to buy a house and you're kind of in the middle of the process right now, don't sleep on it. Don't hide it. Be proactive. The same thing is what I would tell you right now. If you're worried about making your April payment, if you're worried about making your May payment, if you're worried about making your June payment, this is a great time to sit down with your household, look at your budget, figure out what your intake is going to look like for the next few weeks, what your outtake is going to look at. This is time to start making decisions right now with your budget. If you start thinking and seeing that you're going to have a shortfall and mortgage payments are going to become a problem or an issue for you over, even if it's April, May, June, go ahead and contact your mortgage company right now. I mean, this is the time to be proactive with that. It's the time to go ahead and work through that. My company is doing my company's doing two things. One, if you've already got a government loan, if you've got an FHA loan, let's say right now, then they're going in and actually if you have a job and you're working, they're going to go in and actually do a modification for free to lower your payments because we know that that's coming, right? We know.
Will you buy my loan?
Coming. No.
Can we make that happen right here today?
Can't do it right now.
Okay, just curious.
But if you're already financed with us, then you'll and you make your payment to New American Funding. It will come out here very, very shortly. Over the next 4 or 5 weeks, we're rolling this out. We're trying to figure out. But our plan is to figure out a way to modify that. That's not what I do. Someone else is going to contact you. Sure. We do that internally. And because it's a modification, it's going to be very low cost, if any cost, and we're going to lower that payment to try to lower your interest rate permanently to try to get in front of this instead of kind of waiting behind. So that's one way. If you do not have a job, then that may not work for you. If you've been laid off, that may not work just because of the technical nature of not having income right at the moment. But there are still some options there, and so we're going to be able to, put them into another program to be able to offset some payments, et cetera. My point behind all of that is call your mortgage company. Mm-hmm. Call whoever services your loan. Whoever you write your check to every month or whoever drafts your check or drafts your account, give them a call. Let them know what's going on. Find out what options are out there for you. Don't assume that you're going to be able to skip a payment. Don't assume anything. Go ahead and find that out. And once again, just be extremely proactive. That's what I would say in this market and in this timeline, to go ahead and look. It's a great time to check budgets. It's a great time to, figure out, what we're spending money on, how much money we have in reserves. Kind of, no one knows how long this is going to last.
It'd be a tough time to find out that you didn't.
Well, it would be.
And for a lot of people, they are for the first time. And Connor, pull that graphic down. Throw this question up because we're about to go here. How does mortgage deferment work? Because I think right now I'm getting a lot of questions. Hey man, everybody's saying I can defer my payment. I can defer my payment. I can. And then you see the other side of this. A bunch of uneducated people are going out here and saying, well, yeah, but in the month, if you defer it for 90 days, on day 91, you owe 4 months worth of. Yeah. And so there's 100 ways that people defer and how it works. Just talk us through that.
And once again, it's going to be very, very tough to, because people call different things. Certain companies.
We'll start with that. What is deferment?
Yeah, certain companies are actually using this as a marketing. This is a marketing time. They're trying to talk people into doing refinances that maybe, even though rates are fairly low right now, sometimes they're talking people into doing refinances that really doesn't make any sense for them. So once again, call your company, find out what their options are for you. Once again, who is servicing your loan may not be exactly who you closed your loan with. So
I will bet you, unless you closed with New American Funding or a couple other companies, that it is not. I've seen deals sold at the closing table. I'm talking about like, hey, just slam that joke. Yeah, we took our. You know what that means? And just for everyone that's buying a house right now, he didn't ask me to do this. This is just watching this happen. That means that your fees and your charges and all your closing costs that you try to negotiate and ask for more of and got less of and then try to negotiate again, that means that's where your mortgage company made their money, because they immediately sold your loan to a second or third or fourth party. And then they're going to, so that business is built. One thing about New American Funding that I love, and there's a couple other companies like this that are out there. They're not, it is unique, but not exclusive, certainly. They service their loans from inception to maturity, and so what that means for you, the homeowner, is that, or potential homeowner, is that they don't have to get you on the fees and the closing costs and the upfront stuff as much. I mean, it's going to cost you something to close a loan. It always does. But they earn their money like any investor would on the interest over a long period of time. And it's a great business model if you have the capital to be able to go and do that. But it's very unique and something that you don't see very often. So that's one question I always tell people to ask. Again, I'm not the mortgage expert by any stretch, but will you service our debt from inception to maturity, because that's typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's typically going to affect some of the fees up front and some of the things about it. Certainly for me, it affects the customer service. I want to be able to call the guy that I started with, and I can't stand being passed off, and that's how that feels. So,
but call your mortgage. Find out what the deferment. Find out when the interest is going to be due. Is the payments going to be tacked on to the end? Find out. Just ask questions. There's no dumb questions. Hey, most of us will not go back through this,
That's
really
right.
in our lifetime again, right? I mean, that's something like this. This is super, super unique. Our children were talking last night about how crazy of a time we're in and how this is going to mark time. I mean, it really is one of those things that we talk about in our executive meetings, our management meetings, et cetera. Hey, we're trying to figure this out day by day, because there's certain things that are kind of coming down the line that are different, right? The market's reacting in different ways. But call your mortgage company, call your servicer, whoever you're writing that payment to, find out what that means, what your options are, and just be open to ask them questions. Don't be shy about asking them the questions. How does this work? What is the short-term effect? What's the long-term effect? Allow them the opportunity to, once again, be professionals and give you that knowledge back.
And if you get an answer that's unclear or you don't understand, Brandon would certainly, he always answers questions. I mean, there are some professionals locally that will answer questions. But throw the comment up there for me. One, Kathy Widner Hargrove has chimed in today, watching and enjoying seeing my son for the first time. Good to see you, Zach.
Hello, Mom.
No Nerf gun? And that goes back to what we talked about early in the segment here, that our Christmas tradition is typically to belt people with Nerf guns for hours on end. This year we've evolved to safety. We got some PPE, personal protective equipment, that we've introduced to our Nerf fights. But good talking to you as well. How is that affecting your parents? I mean, are they quarantining pretty tight, pretty locked down? I mean,
pretty good.
Dad's still playing golf.
Dad still plays golf. He's
safest place in the world.
Well, he's in his own golf cart. They don't.
Nothing wrong with it.
You handle your golf clubs, your golf ball.
I mean, just don't be tapping in at the same time. Just
right.
keep it. No, that's awesome. No, but it's good.
They do a lot of gimmies.
I would imagine.
I think so.
But that's probably just started, probably, right? No, so that's that's
some of those 73s, 72s, 71s that I hear about.
Pencil whipped.
Probably a few gimmies there.
Are they putting with their eraser? Is that what you're telling me? No,
I can't beat them. So.
No, and neither could I. I mean, I couldn't beat my 4-year-old at this point. I haven't played golf in so long. But so again, back to the mortgage thing. It's just there's a lot of unknowns right now, and it's just if you're looking to go buy a house, if you're looking to refinance, that's where I wanted to land, and I was just filling there because I forgot my train of thought, so I had to talk long enough to get myself there. But refinancing right now, nobody understands the difference. And the Fed drops to 0. That does not mean my mortgage rate's going to be 0. And I know he said there's no such thing as a dumb question. I disagree, but that's not one of them. So let's talk about the relationship between the Fed and mortgage rates, one, at a very high level. English version because I mean, even me, I wrote, it takes me a minute to kind of wrap my mind around it. So that's one. How does the Fed affect mortgage rates? And then I'd like to know too, now's the time to refinance, I think, but let's talk through that because there's a lot of people that can do that right now.
So Fed rates are near zero. Long term, Fed rates will tend to put enough pressure to keep rates down low. So many times when the Feds have lowered rates, short term in the short term, mortgage rates have actually went up.
I'm sorry. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I've got to.
Yeah.
Will you repeat what you just said for all you keyboard warriors out there that don't know what you're talking about?
So many times, I'm not going to say every time, but there's been several times when the Feds have actually lowered rates in the immediate week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that follows. Sometimes it'll actually make mortgage rates go up. Not extremely, but
why would that
an
happen?
Eighth of a point, quarter of a point. There's just really the correlation is just not so tight.
I got you.
With it. It's just not so immediate. It's probably a better way to put that. It's these treasury bonds, the mortgage-backed securities, things like that. Yes, I mean it all relates together in certain ways, but you can't always really tell. You see the stock market go crazy high, in one day. And mortgage rates may go up, they may go down. Right now it's just kind of a crazy time. Refinance, if we can talk about refinance rates right now.
Let's land there for sure.
Yeah, because refinance rates are about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that. I mean, I posted some stuff on socials. I mean, it was crazy low for like 3 days, and I mean it was just absolutely super low. And what happened with that is it put such a strain on the system. It put strain on a lot of companies out there. There was a lot of margin calls. There was a lot of liquidity issues in the marketplaces.
Well, before I want to stop. If you can remember where margin call.
Yeah.
Everybody who's watched the movie or what, I mean, explain that, because that's something that a lot of people don't understand. They hear it thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
Your news channel, your whatever, they'll talk about it.
Yeah.
What is a margin call?
At a very high level, when it deals with the mortgage industry, you've got companies out there who are servicing a portfolio, right? And there's a difference in the value of it and what they pay for it, and so there's a margin. And so when you start refinancing some of these loans and these big blocks of money,
That's right.
These big blocks of mortgages, and as that starts deteriorating, there's a value that there's a separation. I mean, this is I'm not sure I can explain it perfectly. But,
you've done a great job.
But there is a difference in there, and you will get that margin call if you're borrowing money and you've got those relationships with the market like that, and so you're going to get that margin call.
So
and
from
the
the dummy
side, you have to pay it.
Right. From the dummy side, let me break that down from the dumb side. Like, the banks loan a bunch of money to a bunch of people on a bunch of houses. Those houses are worth X, and the margin on what they've loaned out and what they're now worth because they've refinanced, rearranged, whatever, is now, I don't know, $20 billion or whatever the number is, because banks have just gone out and been reckless with, like in 08, a lot of that in 08, right? Just blah, blah, blah. Now the bank owes that money and needs to be bailed out by the government, which we've seen 100 times. But for those of you that have heard that thrown around, I just wanted to make that kind of simplify that to almost too simple and probably not completely accurate because of how simple. But that's something that is, if you're looking at the larger picture of our economy right now, because here's the thing, Brandon, and I'm going to monologue for a second.
But a huge difference, right, between 08 and now, because in 08 we were having mortgage defaults.
Correct.
That's not what
No.
We're
Totally
we just
different.
have a value difference of that now.
Well, and what I was going to say is and I wasn't trying to compare 08 to now in terms of the economic situation, but what a lot of people don't understand about this virus is, yes, absolutely want to respect it. I want to I want to give it its due. I want to be responsible. I want to stay. I go home, I come to work. I go home, I come to work. I control who comes in my door and who goes out. Like, we are being responsible, but a lot of people are saying this is a matter of deaths versus money or whatever. It's not that simple. It's not economy. But the big picture of this economy is, if you don't understand the nature of the stock market, of these big multinational banks that have mortgages extended. I mean, there is so much going on that, like, just think about this. If a Chase Bank, or just name any other big bank that has literally a billion plus worth of loans, if there's a margin call that's called in and they've lent it to, and if people are being irresponsible with their money based on a market just being great, which that is a little bit of 08-ish. Again, we're not there, but it's important to understand how all this kind of ties together. And so I don't want to go back there too much, but go ahead.
But so in the middle of all of this and the liquidity and the margin calls and all of this, there has been a slowdown in the refinance. They've tinkered around with rates. Rates are extremely volatile. I probably have right now. I'm probably I'm locking in refinances every single day. We probably have 20 or 25 on the board right now that we are constantly checking rates, seeing where they're at. And Monday was a good example of that. Work 2 or 3 hours on a deal to get it exactly right to give the customer the most benefit. We went in to lock that rate. It's gone. And it was gone by a lot. Now Tuesday morning it was back.
Sure. And
so we were able to get it, but it's up and down. There's a lot of volatility in the market right now. And
what does that mean for people buying?
The purchase money seems to be very stable.
It's a refi. Okay, so
that's
it's the
more on
refinance
the
money,
side.
which is where the margin calls and liquidity
and
comes
historically, outside of the last 4 weeks, my purchase money and refinance money has always been the same.
I got you.
Right now, it's a little different because of just what you can sell and how you can sell it and et cetera. So, and when we're talking about selling, we service our loans, but we're talking about how we sell to Fannie and Freddie, et cetera. The mortgage-backed security side of that. But it's a great time to refinance. Find out, what I'm telling people to do is, get us an application, let us give you a baseline on what it is, and then you tell us what makes sense. We can run break-evens. We're seeing break-evens at 8 months, 6 months.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing some really low rates. And so we're seeing the break-evens, really low. So
I may send you some stuff this afternoon.
But we're really seeing some, But once again, it takes someone digging in, looking at it. Let's figure out what makes sense for you. One of the first questions that I ask every single person that calls me: how long are you going to be in this house?
Sure.
If you're not going to be in it, let's don't waste our time and money. More importantly, money. Right? Let's don't waste our money on something that's just not going to give you the greatest amount of benefit.
But if you were going to be in a house for, you think, man, I'll sell my house in a year and a half, and a break-even's in 8 months, as opposed to a lot of times it's the 5-year mark, right? That's a lot of times it's like, are you going to be there for 5 years? If yes, if you check yes, then move here. Right. So,
rates are so low that it's making the break-even a little bit smaller, right? It's a little bit lower.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
8 months?
Yeah, we're seeing some crazy numbers right now.
That's unbelievable.
But, and a lot of that is, we're moving from, people are moving from 30 to 15. We've had a great run in the last year. Property values have went up. We're getting people out of MI.
Finally got the appraisers to come on the ride with us.
Yeah. So
finally.
but we're working, we're working really hard to make sure that we're putting people in the right, program. The other thing,
that's so important. Don't let me forget to come back to that, okay?
The other thing is we're moving people out of government loans into conventional loans, getting rid of mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is running $120, $240, $300 even, and in some cases a month. And so we're able to get
that's half a payment.
Get almost the loan to values lower, and be able to change, refinance, get lower rates, and maybe do a single paid premium, maybe get rid of MI altogether. But we have some good options, and we can work really hard for you to make sure that we figure out what is the right program for you, what is the break even. Does it make sense on a 15-30? I quoted somebody this morning, and there was such, the 30-year was so low that it literally almost touched the 15. It was nuts. And so you just need to you need to ask those questions.
But
right?
For those of you that don't, what he just said was, correct me, they had a 15. He refinanced them 15, meaning 15 years, right? So when they bought this house, they said to the bank, I will pay you back in 15 years. He just refinanced them to a 30-year term, meaning double the term, and the payment was close to the 15 term. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, what we basically did was, it was the other way of that. There was a 30-year loan, and then we took that and turned that into a 15.
Well, either way, yeah, that's a better way. I got dyslexia is crazy.
Yeah, but also there's when we quoted this one, the 15 and 30 was so close together, right? The rates were literally so close. So the lower these rates get, it kind of pushes the 30 and the 15 closer and closer together.
Absolutely.
Right? And so But just if you're trying to sometimes it's about saving cash flow. Sometimes it's not about paying your mortgage off early, or sometimes it is about cash flow.
Straight cash, homie.
Yeah. Life happens, right? Situations happen. Jobs get changed. A spouse gets laid off, and I need to figure out a way to replace that income. And because maybe it's a longer term thing. Maybe it has nothing to do with COVID-19. Maybe it has nothing to do. Maybe it has to do with children being born. Jobs
Speaking
changing.
of, COVID-19 is going to have a lot of kids being born. No, it will. Let me tell you, everybody locked up, cooped up. I'm telling you. No, we were talking about that last night. And MC is where that came from. Our church group met, and one of the guys made some comment about how he had to strip down in the garage when he came back from work to make sure that he kept it all off. And he said that could be a good thing. And I'm like, y'all get out of here. You've been in the house too long. No, one thing just a minute ago I said I want to come back to real quick, and we're running out of time quickly. It always gets out ahead of you before you know it here. But you talked about putting people doing research to put people in the right program out of the gate, and really focusing on not necessarily closing that business and getting that money, but more about putting people in the loan that makes the most sense for them. And I know this is silly. Maybe you think every mortgage person's like this, or every real estate agent or whatever. It is rare to find a mortgage team that is willing to run 4 and 5 and 6 scenarios for you, because there's a lot of how much time would you say is wrapped up in gathering that information, figuring out what goes. I mean, there's a couple hours in it anyways, right?
Definitely in certain situations. Sometimes it's just
cut and dry.
It's black and white. You know exactly what you're going to do with it. But there are other times where there's it really matters. It makes you just have to put the work into it, and you run several scenarios. You look at that. You look at credit. You try to figure out a way to get credit up. It makes credit scores make a huge difference in rates. And so, no,
that's great. Look, guys, I want to get an opinion. We're gonna swap. Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot probably. Okay. I didn't tell him this was coming. We have our COVID-19 killer right here on the desk, so that we can every 5 to 7 minutes we're pulling the life out of our hands with alcohol. No, but I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Go for it.
There's a lot of research out. I don't know how much you look at all this. I've read multiple times the peak looking like it's coming somewhere between the 12th, 16th kind of a time frame. We're talking about 2 more weeks of the spike, and then we're going to hit the peak and start coming down. The president, the team in Washington, they all have a tremendously, I don't want to make it. I'm not smart enough to be there. That's why I'm here. But the difference, your opinion on economy versus responsibly, respectfully, carefully protecting those who are endangered. But when do we go back to work, man?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I don't know, probably middle of May.
Connor, can you delete that and kind of bag it up? No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's going to be that. I mean,
you really do.
Yeah, I think that the plans that people will put in place, the precaution that we're all using, it's going to slow it down at such a rate that the curve's just going to be so flat. I mean, I know we're having a spike here, but when we sit back and look at this, how it goes up, I just think it's going to. I think we're going to be cautious to jump back in too soon, and risk that possible second spike.
Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I've read a lot of information about maybe that second, herd immunity has to happen, right? Have you read about that at all?
A little bit.
I do this too much. And guys, this is just, it really doesn't matter. You should turn it off now because we don't know what we're talking about. But no, the herd immunity thing, you're going to get it probably. Even if we all stay in and go, it can live forever. It's like that cruise ship is going to be infected till 2022, apparently, because it's just so long. So is there any weight to, in your opinion, again, this is just two guys, we might as well be playing the lottery right now. That's how uneducated this is. We're just having fun. Is there any weight to this whole kind of herd immunity concept? Maybe we do this and then we get back out there and then all of a sudden it happens again because it's living somewhere. Because if that's the case, then we literally have to wait for the curve to flatten and then give it 17 days to die everywhere before we go back out. Is that what you think we're gonna? Is that what you think?
I think that will be closer to what we. I think we'll try to get on the backside of this, and then we'll give it a little room for some caution.
Give it a little room to breathe.
Yeah. But by then, I don't think the kids. I mean, the kids are not going back to school. So
did you
done.
see the April Fool's jokes yesterday? That were
funny.
so good. I thought it was real. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I saw one that said Texas. Like the governor of Texas says all kids will have to repeat the grade they're in. Dude, I'm talking about. I'm Google away, try to figure it out. But no, and then the last, I'm going to put one more time on the spot. Okay. Last question about this, because it's again, don't send me the email. We're speculating. We're just might as well be talking about fantasy football. Okay. All right. So calm down. The economy.
Yeah.
How long is too long? If we wait till the middle of May, will we ever crank this engine back up?
Oh yeah. It's going to be okay.
You heard it here first,
it's going to be okay. I mean, it's going to take a little while. I mean,
how long?
I don't know. I mean, it's just going to take
18 months?
It could. It could. I mean, to get back to where we're at, probably. But
if unemployment gets to 37%, 40%, like they're talking about it might, we're going to have a suicide rate that goes.
Yeah, but it's so different because we didn't have an economic problem.
I know.
This just kind of it's.
Have you? This is a very somber note, and I will say very clearly, like if you've lost your job, if you've first of all, there are places that will absolutely help you. There are people that you call me directly, like we will figure it out. Like there's nothing that's happening right now that's worth this. But I was reading that in Tennessee specifically, like suicide rates have gone up like time and a half, double. Like and so and that's the other side of this, and that's what I don't care what side of the fence anybody sits on. What's going on right now behind closed doors in our country's leadership, I can't even imagine. Like, I don't envy it. I don't want to be there. I'm not. It's that serious. And so, we're going to turn it back to a positive note before we leave today.
But I think you do. I mean, we've got to, Here's what would be my advice. That's probably not worth a lot, but still
it is to me, Brandon.
Still find you a routine.
Absolutely. Don't wear yoga pants or sweatpants.
You've still got to find a routine. You've still got to, figure out some way to make some, normal. I'm working every day.
But you were working from home most of the time. But I was working from home anyway. This has really goobered you up, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got people around me all day now. I've got an office full of people now.
Lots of them. You got coworkers everywhere.
I got coworkers everywhere. Dogs running around.
The water cooler discussion took on a whole new meaning for you with this whole coronavirus thing.
But it's also been fun. I mean, we've had a great time. We've had more family meals together. We've played games. We've watched movies. We've figured out a way to do it. Hey, we're playing poker tonight. My poker buddies, we're playing poker
on Zoom.
Yeah, well, we found a way. We found an online link that you can play.
First of all, I'm mad. I'm mad because I would like to play poker tonight.
Well, you're more of a in-person type guy. But my
no, I am. You're right.
My point is,
right.
you've got to find a way. You got to find.
If you can't see me, I can't beat you.
You've got to find a normal way to live life through crazy times, and it is tough, right? Because I mean, it is a. I had my brother-in-law told me yesterday. Corey and I were talking on the phone. He said, "Man, this is the time that we got to take care of our mind, right? You got to take care of yourself physically. You got to take care of your mind because, it plays on you. You've got to work hard to find normal. You got to find a way to figure out, how to just kind of live. But and you're right. There's people losing their life over it. I mean, there's people affected. I've got a customer that was telling me yesterday she was getting tested because she's a high risk, and she's pretty sure she's not. She's pretty sure she's negative, but she wanted to. Her doctor wanted her to double check, and so it's real, right? I mean, this is a real deal, and so we want to think about that. People are going to have hard times out of this,
absolutely,
and we want to be very mindful of that, and so we want to. Reach out to people. Reach out to your church. Reach out to
that's so big.
Your friends, your connections. And this is a time that a lot of us are going to have to say, hey, I'm going to let go of some pride.
Oh yeah.
And hey, maybe it's just I need a kick in the butt.
I was talking to Keith last night about it. It's like I've never taken a dime from the government, and there's a lot of people that's a common theme. That's a common story, and I mean, they were talking about Cinderella Man and how in that generation of people, the greatest generation that mankind's ever seen, by the way, in that time of the Great Depression, they took the government and they paid the government back. Like in time, these men that took this money, the stimulus money from the government in the Great Depression, they paid the government back. And that's such a cool concept because honestly, this is what the government aid in all forms was set up for. People that are in trouble, that have issues, that have real tangible, like, it's okay. There's going to be 37% of the country that finds themselves in the same boat. Now is the time to rally together and take what's offered to you and use it prudently and wisely and invest it in your food and your family and your house. And at the end of the day, if you don't have a church, there's never been a better time in your life ever to find a place to worship God. And he might not be your God, but he is certainly God. And so at the end of the day, like, get online, find somebody that maybe looks like you, talks like, whatever it is that attracts you to them. Find a church that you like find good music. I don't care what you find. Just go find something and plug in, because right now encouragement and hope is hard to find at times. We are surrounded by a media which, by the way, makes money off of views, clicks, whatever, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to work, and I'm not mad at them for it. They're going to work really hard to get you engaged with their fill in the blank website, TV show, news reel, ticker. And so at the end of the day, guys, like, that's so good. And I'm glad we landed here, because it's like, man, invest in you right now. Invest in you. Find a hobby, find a skill. There's online education all over the place that's free, that's whatever. Like, learn how to play the guitar, learn how to do something fun.
My pastor said last night, he said, you know, how many times have you said, man, I wish I could learn to play a guitar. I wish I could take that class online. I wish I could do this. This is your time.
ain't never had a better time in your life.
Go do it.
I've seen a lot of colleges offering a bunch of their classes too, like just some of the it's pre-recorded. It's like that kind of content. There's a lot of tuition-free stuff kind of being offered to get you maybe a class or two to get you in the door, so they can get you to. But no, I wish I would have bought stock in Zoom. You see that story?
Absolutely.
$140 a share when it started at 17, and it triggered it was like 20% of the company got sold. All the officers. Anyways, look, guys,
there is a mute button for groups inside of Zoom, and if
okay,
you're video conferencing. I'm
so happy you said
please that. Please learn how to mute.
Okay.
It's the most frustrating thing in the world.
Connor, put it on the screen right now. PSA, public service announcement, Zoom. All caps, super bold. Because right now, there's never been a more important. Everything we've just said to you, with the exception of Jesus, there's nothing more important than what I'm about to tell you, folks. When you Zoom call, hit the setting that says mute with spacebar. Okay. What it's going to do is it's going to mute you. So it's going to be like this right here. Now I'm talking. And so look, at the end of the day, the mute button. So there's the mute. So at the end of the day, guys, like you be respectful. Like, yes, you mute your freaking. Oh, I can't stand that. You hear, mommy, daddy, mommy,
we have calls.
Mommy,
we have calls around the office, and it's probably literally
daddy. See, that's what it's like.
200 people, on our calls.
I can't imagine.
And there's always that one person.
It's
always the one person.
We had 7 last night, and I was looking for somebody to strangle. I'm talking about, hey, mute your call.
I mean, they literally hijack the entire conference call.
Have you seen those stories about college professors? They're
I did.
This is so good. They're using Zoom for their classes, and these kids. Totally would have been me if I could have figured out the tech, which would have been unlikely. But if I could have figured it out, and they're changing their backgrounds constantly, and you know how Zoom, it'll put you in the middle of the screen if people have the right settings. If you're talking, changing, whatever, like it puts you in the center. and these kids are they have a green screen or whatever going in the background, and they're just constantly changing their surroundings. Wow, it's been 40 minutes. We need to go. Look, at the end of the day, guys, if you need to get in touch with somebody about mortgage anything, if you have a question about deferment, if you have a question about anything in regards to the mortgage industry, how can they get in touch with you? And we'll put it in the comments under this thread. But how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can call or text me 256-527-6119.
Bold strategy there, Cotton. We'll see how that one works out for him.
That's just the best way.
Name the movie? Bold strategy, Cotton. See how that one works. I'm so disappointed. Yeah, I'm now taking applications for best friend. It's Dodgeball. Dodgeball. ESPN 8, The Ocho. That's a bold strat.
I have not seen it.
Quarantine. Never been a better time in your life. No, look, guys. At the end of the day, I'm so thankful that you guys choose to tune in and just listen to us talk. This is absolutely a stream of consciousness. This is just we're trying to be uplifting, hopeful, educational, whatever it is, in a time of great need in our country. At the end of the day, there's nothing that won't be overcome and we won't come out on the backside of this without being better. And so, guys, I'd encourage you to find something to hold on to right now. Find something, find some hope, find some joy. I can tell you where I get mine from, and that's in my God and my Savior. So at the end of the day, we're going to make it. Brandon, awesome to have you on.
Right,
I enjoy it. I might have found a new semi-regular co-host maybe, especially until the quarantine lifts, because he lives a quarter of a mile away. So guys, if you need anything, 256 buy sell. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Connor, take us out of here, man.